Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. Thanks for your time again this week. Great show today. We're going to have two good guys on, and I'm sure they're very happy guys. Elliot Walden, who is the president and CEO of racing at WinStar Farm, and that farm is coming off a huge win with Improbable. They're the co-owners of him. He won the Whitney, his second Grade 1 win of the year. And Jack Sisterson, who is a young up-and-coming trainer. He has great experience as an assistant, has been on his own for a couple of years with the prestigious Calumet Farm, and he pulled a big upset in the personal instant when Vexatious beat Midnight Bijou. So that was at Saratoga over the weekend. So two guys, two big wins at the historic Saratoga Racecourse. They're coming up in just a moment. Always happy to have on lead guitar, Ben Chaffins. How are you, Ben?
Great day, Kenny, because it's show day.
Show day, and our extraordinary Mr. Thomas Kenny, who is our researcher. Thomas, got a lot to talk about today, don't we? Because it's Triple Crown time. There's a big race at Saratoga this weekend. Tis the Law is running on Saturday in the Travers. Now, no one's going to come out and publicly say this, but everybody at Churchill Downs, at NBC, maybe horse racing in general, hoping that there's another good showing for the Belmont winner, Tis the Law, just a month away from the Kentucky Derby. So he'll be coming in the Derby with all that attention and all that momentum. And still the question, could we possibly have a Triple Crown winner this year in a crazy year in 77 days between Belmont and the Kentucky Derby? Can Tis the Law in his first race since the Belmont have another great showing and come in as the strong Derby favorite? Because everybody likes a star. What we've also seen this year with the way the Triple Crown scene is, with the, basically flipping things upside down with the Bluegrass Stakes that's not in April, instead is run in July, for example, and with emphasis on the Ohio Derby, the Los Alamitos Derby, the Indiana Derby, things you don't normally think about. Well, you never think about them because they're always after the Triple Crown, except this year. And so with that, Thomas, we've had some interesting horses pop up, within the last month that are certainly contenders for the Kentucky Derby this year.
That's right, Kenny. Starting as recently as the 1st of August, the Shared Belief Stakes, 1,000 Words, is a horse that really had an extraordinary performance there. Definitely one to watch for. We've got the Bluegrass Stakes on July 11th. That was Art Collector who ended up winning that one at Keeneland. That's another name to keep in your head. Los Alamitos Derby, Uncle Chuck, another one. And the Ohio Derby was Dean Martini. That's a name I personally think is just fantastic. But
one of the great names in racing, if nothing else right now, is Dean Martini. You're right, the Ohio Derby winner. I love that.
He's definitely my favorite going forward.
And it's just, what this whole thing is imagine if they played a Final Four in the middle of the summer instead of having it in March into April as is tradition. And some guys went ahead and graduated and went on to the pros or went on with their lives in other directions. That's kind of what it is with that. We've had horses, like every horse you mentioned there, Thomas, was not considered anywhere on the Derby radar if the Derby had been run at its usual time. And then 1,000 Words, as you mentioned, pops up and upsets Honor AP recently in the Shared Belief Stakes. And 1,000 Words was one of those that people have forgotten about. He was a horse very much on the scene early this year and then came back into the picture. And outside of him and maybe Honor AP and Authentic, everyone else that you mentioned, the Art Collectors of the world, the Shared Senses, the Uncle Chucks, they're all new to the scene. So I think that's what's really going to make it fun and exciting, and especially if Tis the Law does win this weekend and is impressive and is obviously going to be the odds-on Derby favorite, to see if there's some of these other horses that can be a spoiler, and that's what creates a great sporting event, doesn't it, guys?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to have someone to beat. Who's the team to beat? In this case, who's the horse to beat? Right now, it's Tis the Law. Okay, right now, one of the horses to beat among the older horses is Improbable. We'll talk with Elliot Walden when we come back, and then later on, Jack Sisterson joins us right here on the Horse Racing Show. Welcome to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. We're happy for your time this week. Thanks for joining us. delighted to have this gentleman back with us. I've known him and his family for years. A great family, a great racing family. He had success as a trainer and even more success as the president and CEO of racing at WinStar Farm. He is Elliot Walden. Elliot, thanks for coming back.
Oh, well, thank you, Kenny. Thanks for having me.
Well, I tell you, what a weekend, huh? Improbable takes on as good as it gets right now when you look at the older horses with Tom's d'Etat by my standards, and comes away with his second Grade 1 win of the year. And I know that everybody has to be pretty happy at the farm with the showing of Improbable.
Very much so. I mean, this was the kind of race that was really going to tell us where we stood with the older horses, and for him to win that and win it like he did was just incredible. It was a great field, and I think it bodes well for the rest of the year.
And going into it, of course, all the talk, and it even goes back to last year when he was the Derby favorite. The gate. How's he going to do in the gate? How's he going to do in the gate? When you're watching him come to the gate, do you get a little bit nervous?
Yeah. I mean, he's a high energy horse. He's not a bad horse. In other words, it's not something that he's trying to be real intentional about. There's horses that just don't want to play the game, and therefore just don't like the gate because they know that's where it all starts. That's not the situation with Improbable. He's just a high energy horse. He gets himself ramped up, and therefore he gets to rattle in the gate a little bit. But yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking because you'd like to see everything go perfect, but as we know in this world, there is no perfect, and you got to deal with what you got to deal with, and that's just one of his things.
Yeah, and of course, with Tom's d'Etat not getting off to his start, it shows, when they say it's not how you start, it's how you finish. But in horse racing, I think it's how you start, continue to run, and how you finish.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. And Tom's d'Etat ran a super race. And take nothing away from his effort. He would have been right there with Improbable, and I think that's the way we felt like it would finish going in, would be the two of them. And I think that he did nothing to hurt himself in defeat. But Improbable's put together two big Grade 1s in a row, and 105 buyer last time, 106 buyer this time. Excited to see what the rest of the year brings.
And you start thinking now about how it's going to be mapped out the rest of the way. You talk with trainer Bob Baffert. You all have a lot of interaction on how it's going to be mapped out, Elliot?
We have a little bit, but I mean, Bob, one of his strengths is just his gut feel, and he'll pivot and make a decision on the fly sometimes, based on how the horse is doing. So you got to kind of leave things in flux a little bit. But I would anticipate this horse probably staying in California for his next start, and then traveling back for the Breeders' Cup.
And as far as I can tell, he really hasn't missed a beat this year, has he? And what has been a crazy year for a lot of horses, especially the 3-year-olds, and races have been postponed or delayed or canceled altogether. But he's been on course pretty much. Is that right?
Yeah, he's been spectacular. I mean, he is so consistent, and I mean, since basically, gosh, the beginning of, he started breezing February 2nd, and he's breezed like 23 times and run twice. So he has not missed a training. He's not missed a training day since the beginning of February, and he's breezing every week. He's run 3 times, and I think that he's a very sound horse, and hopefully that will continue.
And that says a lot for the horse too, doesn't it? He certainly wants to be out there.
He's got great balance and athleticism, and he's a perfect size, and I think that all of it works to his advantage to be able to stay together and stay consistent.
When you look at at a horse when you're looking for WinStar to get involved in purchasing a horse or being a partnership, or when partners come in and talk to you? Are there is there a certain criteria that you follow, or is it kind of a horse to horse, game to game situation?
No, I mean, it's very detailed as far as looking at the horses. And David Hanley works with us here, and he's our general manager, and he and I work very closely together on buying these horses, and we we're looking for a special horse, not just buying a horse. And so there's a lot of dialogue back and forth, and we take it very seriously. And Improbable was bought at Keeneland and showed himself extremely well at the sale. Always looked very athletic, and so we pulled the trigger on it.
Talking with Elliot Walden, had a great training career since 2005. I think that's right. You've been in management there at WinStar Farm. Wow.
That's correct.
The years fly, Elliot. I mean, I can still remember Victory Gallop so well.
They sure do, and it was great to win the Whitney for Kenny. He first got involved in racing in 1999 when Victory Gallop won the Whitney. He ventured to Saratoga for the day with his wife. They drove around the town, fell in love with it, and decided that day when Victory Gallop won the Whitney that they were going to get in the horse business. And what a blessing they've been to the horse business, to all of us at WinStar, and just want to continue to do great things and give us all opportunities. So we're very grateful for the Trouts.
Wow, that's a great story. I mean, I've met Kenny Trout. I don't pretend that I know him well, certainly not like, the times we've had together. But I did not realize that's how he did it.
You often wonder, Kenny, if we got beat that nose instead of winning that nose, would he have been as attracted to wanting to get involved? Because he had flown all the way up there for the day, and there's just something about winning that creates kind of just an energy. And if you get beat a nose, it's still fun to be there, but it's just not the same. So I often wondered if that nose was down, not if Victory Gallop's nose was up instead of down, and what would have happened. But it worked out this way, and we're grateful.
Oh, yeah, that's a great story and a great point. You wonder along the way how many guys are sort of, kind of came and went in the business because of like a moment. The moment just almost happened for them, but they thought, because you got to have not only a lot of guts, but and thick skin and everything else, but you got to realize, some days, no matter how everything works perfectly, it's not guaranteeing a win.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, it's just like, even you think back to the race Saturday with Tom's Day Time. I mean, they've been planning to run there for, since the Stephen Foster, and he's favored, and he's in great form, and he falls on his face leaving there, and all bets are off. And, same thing with Victory Gallop. What if Barron's had gotten his nose down? He ran a great race too. And so, it is a game of inches, and it's unfortunate. Sometimes you got to have winners and losers, but that's what makes it special. I was talking to Greg Bensel from the New Orleans Saints this morning, who owned Tom's D'Etat, and he said, it's times like Saturday that make the winning that much sweeter. And he said that's what Drew Brees used to tell him. So, I think that's true too. You appreciate the victories, and Improbable had a great one on Saturday.
Sometimes, do you and Bob Baffert, like with Justify or Improbable, in a casual conversation, ever relive a moment at Belmont Park where you trained a horse named Victory Gallop?
Yeah, we do. We talk about it every now and then. Once a year, it probably comes up in some form or fashion, but not very often. You can't rest on your laurels. You got to keep moving forward. So we're focused on the next one, but we do enjoy a laugh about that, and I think that again, there's another one. It was a real incredible race that goes down in the history of one of the best races of all time, and with the Triple Crown on the line, we were fortunate to get our nose down, and it could have gone either way, and I'm sure there's most of the racing fans probably wished it went the other way because of the Triple Crown on the line, but that's what makes this sport so great is just the competition of it.
Yeah, and I think everybody remembers that, knocking Real Quiet out of winning the Triple Crown. And, I don't know if I ever told you this story, but we did a feature at NBC, which never aired. Fortunately, it never aired. And that was on how long the Belmont is at 1.5 miles. There's so many ways to get straightened out and get corrected if you got off to a bad start. It was one of those, it's not where you start, where you finish, Elliot, kind of stories. Yep. And of course, this was the year of War Emblem. And we know what happened to him at the starting gate, where his race was basically over before it began, when he almost face planted out of the gate. And everybody afterwards, in the post-mortem of these meetings and all that, was thrilled that because of time constraints, we did not get that feature on the air.
Sometimes things work out for you, don't they, Kenny?
I tell you, wouldn't that be something? Said, don't worry about this 1.5 mile race. It doesn't matter where you start in 1.5 miles, because you can straighten it out. But as we know, that's not always the case.
Not always the case, for sure.
Stay with us. We'll have more with Elliot Walden right here on the Horse Racing Show. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. We're talking with Elliot Walden, who is the president and CEO of racing at WinStar Farm, coming off a big weekend, winning the Whitney with Improbable. You grew up, and your father, Ben, so respected, and your brother, and the whole Walden family so known in this business. I guess there was no other choice for you but to stay in the game, even as a kid, even curtailing some of your basketball career when you were shooting hoops there in the barn that your dad put a goal up for you, I believe.
Yeah, no, it was always in our blood, and it's something that most Kentuckians grow up with it in their blood, and it's just it's not because it's forced; it's because it's a passion, and it's just it's been. I was reminiscing about going to Saratoga this past weekend. Was 43 years been going to Saratoga, and started out working for Leroy Jolly up there walking Heights when I was 14, and staying on the backside, and wasn't supposed to be on the backside because you're supposed to be 16 to start work. But in those days, you could get by with a little bit more than you can today, and so those were great memories. Just right where Improbable was, just walking around the same barn up there.
Wow. Well, and you mentioned one of the great trainers that people haven't forgotten, but he's not always brought up in the conversation, Leroy Jolly. Yeah,
Leroy was a great trainer and had great horses, especially when I was there. He had Genuine Risk, General Assembly, and he had Honest Pleasure, Foolish Pleasure. Was a great horse trainer.
Yeah. Did you pick up something along the way as a trainer yourself from your dad, your brother, from Leroy Jolly, or somebody else that you kind of always become something that you could fall back on, that you get those words of wisdom some way, no matter what we do for a living, you go, yeah, I remember that moment. Somebody told me this and I've held on to it.
Well, you're always a product of your experiences. And I guess with my dad, he was a breeder. And, the thing I learned the most from my dad, one experience I'll tell you was he had a foal born on December 28th. And, when you have mares, you start breeding them in February to have January foals. And every horse's birthday is January 1st. So if they're born before January 1st, they actually turn 1 in 2 or 3 days or whatever they're born. And so, most people would not report them as being foaled December 28th. They would report them as being foaled January 2nd. Every now and then the Jockey Club sends somebody out to verify those things. But most of the time, if you told that little white lie, you could get away with it. But I remember my dad having a foal born December 28th. And I remember him reporting it as being born December 28th, and therefore, he couldn't sell it as a yearling, and ended up having to race it. But it told me that you do the right thing when nobody's looking, and that will take you a long way. And I was grateful for that example from him.
And that's and knowing you and your faith, it does not surprise me, by the way. That's a great story because, like you say, sometimes you can look the other way, people do and all that. But, there's something about integrity and staying the course, I think, that makes success, like for you and for WinStar and all the people that are successful. They don't just kind of stumble into it. People may have a moment, but you don't have a career.
Well, that's right. And you just, it's, as I look back and think about those things, and then the trainers we worked for, the things you picked up along the way, and even in my job now, if I were to go back and train again, I'd be a whole lot better trainer because I've been able to go into the barn of Todd Fletcher and Bob Baffert and Bill Mott, and we've had horses with them, and I've been able to see how they do things and how they differed from how I did it when I was training. And I've often thought about, if I were to go back and train horses again, I'd be a heck of a lot better trainer than I was because I've learned so much more by seeing how other people do it.
And you've got a pretty good 3-year-old filly coming up that's, you had a couple of them, and one's going to be in action in just a couple of days, not too far from now.
Yeah, we got Crystal Ball's going to run in the Alabama, and she got beat a nose in the coaching club a few weeks back to Paris Lights. And so we're looking, she worked this past weekend and looking forward to the Alabama and see where that takes us from there. But she's a really nice filly, and Bob actually has her as well.
What was it feel like up at well, obviously at Saratoga you get the win with Improbable, so I know it was a happy time. But the overall feeling with, no one there except, the trainers, a few owners, the jockeys and horses, that whole experience. And you've been there before. I've been to Churchill, and then I was at the Belmont this year with no people there. And it really is different, isn't it? I don't know. Different seems like a too obvious throwaway word, but it's still hard to kind of get around it. For me, it still is.
Yeah, I think, it is very different. And, I tell you what, a couple things. I think that it makes me have a greater appreciation for the fans because without them, it's not near as exciting. It was exciting up there to win, don't get me wrong. Right. But, to hear the fans cheer the horse back to the winner's circle or to, get congratulatory exultations after the race from fans that maybe bet on him or not. It does add something to it. There's no question about it. And so, it made me reflective of the fact that in life you never know what the next step is. And even though we think we do, even though we think that we're bulletproof and that everything's going to go exactly like it's been and we can dictate that, this whole pandemic has made me realize that that's not the case, that there's more to it than just what I think, and it makes me appreciate having the fans there and having being at Saratoga when it's almost taken away.
Elliot, it's been great to catch up with you. I certainly appreciate your time, and congratulations on all the success at WinStar Farm and particularly with the big win in the Whitney with Improbable. Look forward to everything going well and seeing him in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Thanks, Kenny. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Always a pleasure catching up with Elliot Walden, President and CEO of Racing at WinStar Farm. Big weekend they're coming off with that win with Improbable. More on the Horse Racing Show right after this. Welcome back into the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice, and really happy to have this guy with us. I've known him a long time. I first met him, he was assistant to Doug O'Neill, and it was around I'll Have Another's year. Wow, that long ago. He's been on his own as a head trainer for a couple of years now, and Jack Sisterson is coming off his biggest win as a trainer, Vexatious, winning the personal ensign last weekend at Saratoga, beating what many thought was not just the best mare out there, but the best horse in training right now in Midnight Bisou. And Jack joins us now. Jack, welcome into the show and congratulations.
Thanks very much, Kenny. Thanks for taking the time to allow me to sit here and chat to you.
Well, listen, thank you, because you're the star of the moment. I'm sure everybody's been wanting to talk to you. What was it like to get that not just a grade 1 win, but to beat Midnight Bijou and to get that first grade 1 at Saratoga Racetrack?
Kind of growing up, you have dreams in life and big inspirations and things like that. And it was obviously been in this industry, the top of the goal is winning grade 1s. And so it's always been a dream of mine. And that dream did come true on Saturday, and you sort of pinch yourself at times thinking, did that really happen? And thanks to Vexatious, the owners, my staff, all the support, people like you, Kenny, that, reach out, and I couldn't do it without numerous, people don't see what goes on behind the scenes to actually allow us to compete at that or any sort of level. And, I've got hundreds and hundreds of people to thank to allow me to get to that stage, and just very fortunate and thankful for the people behind me.
Well, you've worked with some good people along the way to put yourself in this position. Now, I don't pretend to know Brad Kelly, the owner of Calumet Farm. I honestly don't know how many people know Mr. Kelly. I do respect that he's always wanting to put horses in big events. If he's got a shot, if he thinks he's going to race them. And I really like that. I really like what he's done to keep Calumet viable in the industry. So I'm guessing a man like this, who is kind of reclusive and doesn't seek attention, you probably had to do a lot of things right, Jack, to impress him enough for him to hire you to train Calumet horses.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what that was, Kenny. That again, I'm thankful for Calumet, Mr. Kelly, the staff, the horses, numerous things that I suppose if it wasn't for Calumet, if it wasn't for the horse, I wouldn't be here, the staff wouldn't be here. So we've got to be thankful of them. And it's great because everybody knows their investment, obviously, the hours, the numerous farms, all the hard work that, gets put forth into the breeding operations and things like that, to have, obviously, a mare win for any sort of farm, because you'd like to think she gets retired and goes back to the farm and has a successful career as a broodmare, and to add, obviously, a grade 1 personal ensign win for Vexatious, I'd like to think her career is only just getting started right now, because I strongly believe that, and I think Mr. Kelly, Calumet, will allow me, if she's sound, to run her as a 7-year-old, and she's acting like a mare that's going to continue to perform at that highest level if we allow her to. So it was great, the whole of Calumet, Mr. Kelly, they were so excited Saturday for me to be able to provide just a little bit of that excitement for the mental art.
Oh, that was huge. That was huge for you and Calumet, Jack. And I know a lot of people are happy knowing what a good guy you are and how hard you've worked. And for Vexatious, you mentioned, possibility, everything stays on track. She does well. She runs in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, which she's qualified for with that win, the personal ensign. That was her first win, I believe, since October. So, you always had faith, and you always been pointing her for the big races.
She'd always trained, with a lot of talent so it led us to believe. And again, there's a lot of people behind that I owe thanks to getting her to that grade 1 win, but she always showed us promise, to where she had a big win in her. And, it was, I think the Summer Colonies ran this week. She was a good second in the Summer Colony last year to Blue Prize, who went on to win the Breeders' Cup. So it was sort of where do we run her, and do we opt to go to a race where she's probably going to be a heavy favourite in the Summer Colony, like Midnight Bijou was in the personal ensign, or do we allow Vexatious? Vexatious did all the hard. I didn't do anything with Vexatious. That was able to show the public of her talent on Saturday. And, we opted to go to the grade 1 with her. Thanks to Calumet for allowing me that opportunity. Thanks for Vexatious to still show us that promise in her races before, and in a training to where we thought she was capable of winning a race like that.
Well, a great job again. Jack Sisterson's our guest right now. He's been training on his own for a couple of years. He's coming off his first grade 1 with Vexatious in the personal ensign last weekend. And it's such a weekend for you. You almost had 2 grade 1 wins in one day, Jack. That's pretty impressive.
No, it's obviously I was unable to travel to California, and so I watched it at home. It was 9:30 in the evening, so I'm at home. Actually, was lying in bed and trying to stay awake. And at the 8th pole, when Lexingtonian started to gain momentum, I thought to myself, surely this can't happen twice in one day. And unfortunately, it didn't. But thanks to Lexingtonian for giving us that free thrill and for running a creditable race first time and shipping across country. And things didn't really go his way, from getting scratched out the Vanderbilt to last minute breathing him on that Sunday, to putting him on a van, to putting him on a plane, and to expecting him to run at his peak performance in a grade 1. So he didn't have the most ideal prep leading up to the Bing Crosby, but he was able to overcome it.
And I guess enough that he did in the Bing Crosby that you're thinking, still in very much on the scene for a Breeders' Cup down the road here.
That's the goal, Kenny. He ran great in the Phoenix over the Keenan track, which obviously is where the Breeders' Cup's held this year. So we'd like to, a month before the Phoenix will be his prep for the Breeders' Cup. He ran a good, third in that race, not beat far. And coming off that effort in the Bing Crosby, we've got several options, whether you go back to Del Mar for the Pat O'Brien or you go back, to Saratoga for the Fogo, which he handles both a 7/8. So the 7/8 of a mile's not a concern for Lexingtonian. So we'll let Lexingtonian decide what sort of map he wants to create leading up to the Phoenix and hopefully leading up to the Breeders' Cup.
I want to talk about the Jack Sisterson map. Growing up in England, a great soccer player, the University of Louisville, which is a very good soccer program, they recruit you. Was there a choice when you knew you could go to Louisville and be a stone's throw away from the campus to Churchill Downs, and you grew up around the horse business in England? Was that a no-brainer that no other college in America was going to be able to get you? Maybe Kentucky, I don't know, but Louisville seemed like a natural.
You hit the nail on the head there, Ken. It was a no-brainer for me that to be able to continue my soccer career for 4 years and being able to study a sport that I love, was able to get a degree through the equine program there, thanks to Terry Birch and all the people, staff that was able to accommodate, the soccer and the studies at the same time. And I was introduced through Gary Stevens, and thanks to Michael McCarthy and thanks to Todd Pletcher, I was able to start hot walking for Todd. I decided to do summer school there at Louisville, one to get ahead academic-wise, and I still worked out, and Todd accommodated to find a hot walking position for me in his barn. So that was my first introduction to the American side of racing, was through Todd Pletcher. And I've got a lot of people to thank along the way to allow me to sit in this position right now.
We're talking with Jack Sisterson. We're going to take a quick break. More with the grade 1 winning trainer when we come back on the Horse Racing Show. And welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. Glad that you're with us. Really happy to catch up with Jack Sisterson. Everybody I know is happy for him, coming off his first grade 1 victory with Vexatious in the personal ensign, pulling the upset of Midnight Bisou. It was a huge win, and with Lexingtonian almost had 2 grade 1 wins in one day. That's a lot for a guy that's only been training. I don't want to even say only. You've been a head trainer for 2 years, but you've been in this game for so long, Jack. And you mentioned you started out in America with Todd Pletcher, and then you go to Doug O'Neill, and I think that's where I met you, wasn't it? With I'll Have Another.
It was I'll Have Another, yeah. 2012, and thanks to all the people that allowed me to work underneath them and gain valuable experience and been able to work with the top horses in the world, really. So I've got hundreds of people to thank along my journey to put me in this position.
And I imagine that you got quite a few congratulatory calls, and texts and emails and all that from some of these guys that you started out with and has helped you along the way?
I can't thank, Vexatious won on Saturday, and within 2 minutes the phone was ringing, and I spoke to Eddie, the farm manager, and Mr. Kett. Such excitement that my parents and brother and sisters that support me along the way, and this was in a short period of time, a couple of minutes after, and I hung up the phone, and I had 260 text messages of people congratulating me. And it's a competitive sport. Like professional athletes, I'm sure they have friends that playing other opposing teams, but come Saturday, it really is game day, and you want to ultimately win, so you've got to turn that friendship into your competitors. And the first, I always get texts from Doug O'Neill, my old boss, whether it's a win at Porsche, if we won at Saratoga, or a win at Belterra, he's always following. But people don't see it, that I've had 2 congratulatory texts from Steve Asmussen, who we beat. That goes to show you how, one, obviously very successful Hall of Fame trainer, but what a mentor for him to be texting me saying congratulations. And Steve, and people like Graham Mosh and Jimmy Jerkins, Brendan Walsh, best friends of Cal, Dan Blacker, Simon Cal, owners that Jeff Bloom that own Midnight Pursuit, people like that are saying congratulations to me, that obviously wanted to beat us, but at the same time they congratulate me. So it really is a tight industry to where nobody sees the texts that obviously are coming in from me, but it's from competitive trainers that are saying congratulations. So I was very fortunate and thankful for the support from everyone.
Well, that speaks well of you, Jack, and again, it shows the sportsmanship that by and large is prevalent in this business. As you know, you go head to head. We talked with Elliot Walden earlier, kind of laughed now when Victory Gallop beat Real Quiet. And look how much Bob Baffert has trained for WinStar Farm and worked with Elliot, which is not justified but improbable. So that's the way it works out. And you had to work with one of the happiest guys in the business in Doug O'Neill. I don't think I've ever been around his barn, even in the very trying time when he had to pull, I'll have another out of the Belmont. There was still they weren't happy, but there was still trying to be upbeat and positive about a situation that was terrible, obviously.
And credit to Doug and the success he's had, because it really, I suppose, it trickles down from the top, and Doug really sets that working environment to be enthusiastic and, approachable, and, really create that team environment. And you go back to I'll Have Another, and Doug allowed so many of the staff to travel on his expense to just experience, been there. Obviously, he was, I think, more than line 4 to 5 to win the Belmont, which ultimately would have made him a Triple Crown winner that year. And you really go from, I don't know what else, from a high standpoint, that's, you potentially 24, 48 hours of doing what everyone wants to do in the sport is win a Triple Crown. To been, unfortunately, Doug did what's right by I'll have another and scratched him. To turn around, and thanks to Doug and Paul and Zilla read him, they still wanted us to go and watch the Belmont and support all the other runners in that Belmont. So things like that, it's one, unfortunately, I'll Have Another couldn't run, but in return, you still got to look back, and you won the Kentucky Derby, you won the Preakness. Let's be thankful of the success he brought to us, and let's go out there and support the contenders in that Belmont. I think it was Union Rags that won it that year, and we still had a great day. All on the back of your mind, you want to. So the sorrows involved, but thanks to Doug and staying positive, we had a great day that day.
Now, for you, what's next for Vexatious? Do you start planning things out as she now is obviously qualified for the Breeders' Cup? This staff. It's not that long a wait till that time in November at Keeneland. So what do you have planned next?
It's funny you said it's not long away. I remember at the beginning of the year when we thought, Vexatious seems to blossom at Saratoga. So when we're trying to map out a 2020 campaign for Vexatious, we said, let's point to where she's hopefully running her best races during the summer, fall. And before we knew it, here we are now, midsummer, and I look back as if it was January, like yesterday. So the Breeders' Cup's going to be on us before we know it. Yeah. Ultimately, that is the goal, to keep Vexatious happy and healthy and performing at that sort of level. So obviously a month before you've got the Spinster here at Keeneland or the Belden, it makes sense running one of those two races instead of shipping out west to California. So if I had to guess, she's still in Saratoga at the moment. She loves it there. Marco Dwyer, who gallops her every day, she can be a tough filly to gallop, and he's done a fantastic job of, getting her in that happy stage of where she is right now. So Mark and Vexatious are still at Saratoga, and I think we'll leave her there, possibly up. I think we'll potentially focus on the Spinster with her, and in a month's time we'll bring her back for the Distaff, which seems to be an exciting division if hopefully everyone stays fit and healthy, and we've got numerous contenders this year for it.
Oh, yeah, it should be a great race. And Jack, I know you're a modest guy, and I know you appreciate winning your first Grade 1, but now, seriously, in a shootout, is there any trainer that could beat you on the soccer field?
God, that is a great question.
No, there's no one. Okay, yeah. Jack Sisterson will take on any trainer out there one-on-one in a shootout. Pick anybody you want to put in goal.
Yeah, we might have to do that Breeders' Cup week. Have a lot of competitive action beforehand.
See, that might be it. That might be the way to go. Biggest win for you at the University of Louisville soccer. What was it? You remember?
We had numerous big wins. I think it was obviously
had a great run
competing against the likes of UK, and I didn't know going into University of Louisville that University of Louisville and University of Kentucky was such a huge rivalry. So anytime you compete against UK, it's sort of you put all emotions aside, and it's whether you got friends on the team or not. So beating UK would have to be a big one, and just traveling to the likes of Notre Dame, going to campuses like that, and going all around the country really. But just seeing historic campuses like Notre Dame and winning at places like that, I was very fortunate to just be a small part of it.
Yeah, you were a big part of it, and look how it worked out, from walking hots for Todd Fletcher to being assistant to Doug O'Neill to being on your own now for 2 years with the great Calumet Farm and coming off your first Grade 1 win with Vexatious. Congratulations, Jack, on all the success, and we look forward to catching up before the Breeders' Cup.
Well, thanks a lot, Kenny, and you know where we are. If we can ever help with anything, please let me know.
All right, our pleasure. Thank you. Jack Sisterson, one of the great guys out there, one of the hot young trainers out there. We'll have more on the Horse Racing Show right after this. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. Getting ready to wrap it up. Thank you, Elliot Walden. Thank you, Jack Sisterson. Thank you, as always, Ben Chaffins.
Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you, Thomas Kenny.
Always a pleasure.
And how about that? We had a soccer star and a trainer on today. I think Sisterson could beat any trainer out there in soccer. I really do. That's just a thought.
I think you're right.
The Eclipse Award people decided, rightly so, to send the trophy to the West family for maximum security as the 3-year-old champ, because nothing showed up with maximum security. I'm glad he's the 3-year-old champ. It should rest at that. You're not guilty until proven innocent. It's the other way around. So maximum security gets the award he deserves. Thank you for being with us, everyone. We'll talk again next week. I'm Kenny Rice, and you've been listening to the Horse Racing Show.